get up. Get up. Well, get up. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up.
All right, Bears Nation, get ready to go. Beyond fired up to be here.
Fuck the Bears.
Yeah, fuck the Bears for sure.
For life now. It's been for life.
Ben Johnson, public enemy number one.
This fucking, I mean, what a backstab.
This is exciting times. Cannot wait to get to work.
Are you kidding me? The Bears?
Benedict Arnold, Judas,
Benedict
Osama
Arnold.
bin Laden.
This is exactly where we wanted to be. This is exactly where we wanted to be. Where we want you.
I mean, of all teams, I get it. They got a young prospect quarterback. But the fucking Bears, you're supposed to be a loyal guy?
Ben Johnson's the biggest scumbag in Detroit sports history.
The wins are going to come. The playoffs are going to come.
I mean, what are we doing?
This is worse
Nick?
than anything. This is worse than anything. This is worse than Sergey going to Anaheim. This is worse than anything. This is Ben Johnson, your public enemy number one.
Bear down, baby.
Get up. Well, get up. Get up. Well, get up. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up.
Here we go. Rock to the rhythm, go. I said rock to the rhythm, you don't stop. Cause Ghetto Funk has got the beat, show shot. I said rock to the rhythm, you don't stop. So who the squad that'll make the house drop? Ghetto Funk with the rhythm, you don't stop. Cause the squad's got the beat, show shot. I said rock to the rhythm, you don't stop. So who the squad that'll make the house drop? Ghetto. That's right.
Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. It's like that, y'all. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Come on. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Well, get up. Get up to the up rock. Get down and shake it when the beat drop. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Well, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up.
What's up, mommies and poppies, boys and girls? My name is Aldo Gandia here with another episode of Bare Their Souls. If you haven't watched this show in a while and are wondering where Dan Aguirre is, Dan left us, I think, 2 months now. It's been his schedule at one of his jobs changed, and that necessitated him working for a living during this time and not doing the podcast. He and I are in constant communication. We've talked about doing some things in the future together, and I'm sure that will happen. He misses doing the show. He misses all of you, and I miss him too. So with that, I want to also say that Dan can sometimes be the most negative guy in the fucking world. Yesterday, he's barraging me with texts saying, he doesn't like this guy. He's another Matt Nagy. All he does is trick plays and shit. And I'm trying to talk him down off the ledge and say, this isn't the time to, nitpick all the things that you may have seen or heard about him and so forth. This was the hottest candidate available in the coaching market. We should definitely be celebrating that. And that's going to be what this show is about, at least for the first 30 minutes or so. And then Danny Shimon's going to join us. So we'll see what he's got to say. I'm pretty sure he's happy with the Ben Johnson pick. And then, of course, Tooch joins us about an hour into the show with his Bears state of affairs. Vizzo Joe says, yo, Aldo Dan tweeted he didn't like the Ben hire. Yes, I'm telling you, Vizzo, it's like, I can understand some of his reasons. For instance, it's a young, hot offensive coordinator who hasn't proven he can lead a whole team. He's concerned that this could be another Matt Nagy type hire. He wanted the experienced voice in the locker room. I get all that. But and I've cut together some media clips, and I think Kyle Brandt says it best on NFL Network, is you got to go for the fences from time to time. And I'm going to segue that into issuing a public apology to Ryan Poles. I was really, really hard on him the last 2-3 months, around November, when it looked like all of the mistakes that he made were just blossoming into, like, in your face, man. What did you fucking do? Drafting Velus Jones in the third round, where there was this good offensive lineman, this good defensive lineman, guys that could serve the team immediately. Same thing, with other draft picks that he's had. I got really down on him, and I was smacking him around, not literally, but on social media. And I don't regret that at all, but I think that this signing was a coup for him. There's no doubt in my mind. Yes, I'm backpedaling. I'm backpedaling, but I really, what I'm backpedaling is my criticism of how he was handling the search. Now it is pretty clear what the plan was. He targeted Ben Johnson. When they had that first Zoom call, I can tell you that it probably went like this. Hi, Ben. Ryan Poles here. Here's this guy. Here's this guy. Here's this guy. I just want to start by saying that you are our number one choice. And no matter what you hear in the media, you are our number one. And then Ben says, you know what? You're my number one too. Let's do this. That's probably how it was in the first 30 seconds. Because that's what it's all coming into mind, all the puzzle pieces on how Poles handled this. And I think that it was a solid plan to interview a lot of people during the search and throw that no look pass, or that's not the phrase I'm looking for, but to make it seem like anyone was on the table for hire when he really, really knew who he wanted to hire. And he was playing it safe, having a second choice and a third choice. But the Ben Johnson deal was done. I mean, for this guy to agree to terms without having a face-to-face interview with these guys, what's that tell you? It tells you that there was a lot of shit going on in the background that we're not privy to, and they all satisfied both parties. And I got to give it up to the McCaskies. They're still paying 2 more years of Eberflus's salary. And hopefully he'll get hired somewhere, and that'll nullify some of the expenses the McCaskies are going through. But between that and the purported $15 million they're going to be paying Ben Johnson, That's a nice fucking investment. And I hope that they don't stop there. That the coordinators that Ben Johnson wants to bring along, whether it's the Dennis Allen, former head coach of the Saints, as a defensive coordinator, he's going to demand a pretty buck. He's going to be paid like Vic Fangio was paid when he became defensive coordinator of the Bears and is now defensive coordinator of the Eagles, one of the highest paid defensive coordinators. And that's going to be a good thing. Main thing is that the narrative about George McCaskey being chipped, that ship left a long time ago. These guys are obligated to pay a certain amount in player salaries. They have spent over $100 million on the development of Halas Hall. They have spent money on a front office, and Warren has brought in a lot of people to work there so that it could expand the business and make it a global business. So there's a lot more salaries at Halas Hall. They've been spending money. They've spent money on coaches. This is not the first time that they've paid two coaches at the same time. So, maybe he's cheap in some ways, but I personally am not seeing it. And I'm just looking in the chat room to see if anybody disagrees. It doesn't appear so. And Muck Muck says, I really hope that we got our Sean McVay. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing that I hope my good buddy Dan Aguirre starts to realize, is that maybe this is the guy. Maybe this is the guy who is so innovative with this offense. He can disguise some of our weaknesses. He can strengthen our strengths, and we could be averaging 3, 4, 5 touchdowns every week and not have to have the defense out there. This could be the multiplier effect where all, special teams, defense, offense, all of them improve as a result of this hire. Fingers crossed. Michael says, although obviously we all love Dan Aguirre and his amazing Bears insight, if there is a time and place where you guys can record a short weekly conversation and play it back during the show, that would be amazing. And Michael, I'm going to give your last name a shot. Koziasa. I just go to a guy to school with a guy with a similar name. Yeah, I'm going to look into that. So let me write that note down. Yeah, I think that would be really, really cool because there should be opportunities during the week to do that. The very latest, we can get an update on Dan's sex life. Keith is like, must have won one of those bets. If you follow Keith Lutz, political reporter on X, he sometimes will post what his gambling endeavors are, and hopefully he's been winning because he's, again, donated $2 on the Gabriel Talks Football. He did the same thing. Thank you very much, Keith. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Michael says, yep, it's those Polish names. Susan Klenowski and Deborah Wojciechowski. When I went to Yates School many years ago, those were two of the finest girls that I started having, physical feelings that you could feel below the belt. Those girls are so pretty. Keith says, don't feel bad knocking polls. I had Bears winning Super Bowl in 2 years and winning Exec of the Year. Was he responsible for the free fall? I don't think so. I think Poles had a plan. Yeah, I'm not going to exonerate him for the mistakes. He should have fired Eberflus last year after the season. And maybe we wouldn't have gotten Ben Johnson. So maybe, things happen for a reason, as they say. But I do feel like he's made mistakes that have retarded the process of really building a stellar roster. And Swifty over at Swift Sports Network and I were going back and forth a few weeks ago, and he was saying it takes a while to build the offensive line. Yeah, but so the problem is he's 3 years in. When's he going to start? You know what I mean? He's got to invest some assets. He's got to forget about the best player available in every fucking single round when there's possible hits as offensive line in the second, third round that he's bypassed. So that's my point. Devote some more resources into guys you can develop and guys that contribute. And this free agency period that's coming up is going to be huge for Ryan Poles. He's got to knock down some really a quality veteran or two, and I'm talking Pro Bowl caliber player, and devote another couple of high draft picks, two out of the top 42. I think they got 42 and 43. It is two of those top three picks to an offensive line, so that hopefully one of them is a plug and play, and another one is somebody that will develop quickly and be able to contribute, at least in a backup role. All right. I want to share with you the video of the day. I mean, there's been a lot of cool videos on the internet today, but this one is my favorite. It was sent out by the Chicago Bears, and I posted it onto X, and I said, this guy sounds like a leader to me. This is Ben Johnson being welcomed at Halas Hall in the atrium area where you first come in. All of the employees at Halas Hall were out to greet him. It's a really, really nice moment. Hopefully one that we won't soon forget.
Everyone get back to work. Listen, thank you so much. My family and I, we are beyond excited. This is exactly where we wanted to be. This is exactly where we wanted to be. Where we want you. This is going to be a challenge. I am well aware of that. I know what this division's about. And this is exactly where we want to be. We're going to go after this thing, and it's going to take all of us in this room. It's going to take this locker room. It's nothing more important than that locker room and us serving that locker room and those players. All right? They need to understand that. And they need to feel that from us every single day. And if we do that, the wins are going to come. The playoffs are going to come. All right? Can't wait to get to know you guys. And thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you.
The guy turned me on, man. I started thinking about this afterwards. He's Mr. Cool, man. He's going to win over Chicago. These are my hopes as a fan. I don't have any proof. I don't know the guy. I never talked to him. But just from what I see and from what I want, this guy could be a sort of Mike Ditka figure in Chicago because of his smarts, his good looks, his beautiful family, his ability to be so creative and so ingenious with the offense. If he gets the rest of this crew together, the coordinators who can bring, solidify this defense, they've been playing fairly well the last 2 seasons, and now, get another pass rusher, make some changes in the locker room in terms of bringing in, strong characters, strong leaders. This team could take off, and Ben Johnson will be the major reason why. Yeah, so Chicago does less than BJ. Whoa! Who sent me $50? Oh man, Michael, that is so very, very nice. So very, very generous. I really, really appreciate it. Jesus. I got some news to share, but I'm not going to talk about it tonight. Not after I got a $50 tip. Holy shit. I feel like a high-priced whore. Thank you very much, Michael. To the good times I had, he writes, really, really appreciate this. Hair Bear says, this is the Big Johnson show. I love it. I love it. All right. So as I like to do when something big happens with the Chicago Bears, and something I used to do regularly on this show, it was Dan Aguirre's idea to get the temperature of what was going on in the sports media. I've cut together some clips from the local and national media to see what they think about Ben Johnson coming to Chicago. Now, most of this stuff was recorded yesterday, and so there are a couple from today, but for the most part, it's, I started picking these stuff as soon as the announcement was made, and I was off the air with Greg Gabriel because he and I did a show. Let me see if I can find it. I hope I loaded it. I know that I did. I know that I did. I know that I did, and here it is.
There was a level of surprise that was shared by everybody yesterday when the news broke that it came on a Monday, that it came at all.
Tom Pelissero here with breaking news into the NFL Network newsroom. The Chicago Bears have gotten their man. The team has agreed to terms with Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson on a contract to become their new head coach.
Yeah, we got some breaking news in the chat, boys.
What is it? Ben Johnson to the Raiders?
No.
Where?
Bears.
Wow, so he wasn't dead serious about the GM thing.
Yep.
Maybe he was playing the Raiders against the Bears so he'd get more money.
I'm over the moon. I didn't even want to consider this a possibility because I didn't want to be let down by Ben Johnson if he went to, let's say, the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Las Vegas Raiders. But he is a Chicago Bear. He's going to be the leader of men that we've been looking for.
It happened so quickly. Like, there's people I've spoken with around the NFL that were kind of surprised that Ben Johnson didn't even get to Halas Hall before he signed agreed to the terms of becoming the next head coach in Chicago. So there wasn't a second interview.
The biggest surprise to me was that the Bears paid top dollar for a guy that was very expensive. He's not only was the most sought after guy in the market, he was the most expensive guy on the market. And reports are they're paying between $12 and $13 million per season as his salary.
Yeah, I'm not real surprised. Like, you look at what Kevin Warren's done inside the building since he was hired. He's got the magic words needed to get George McCaskey to spend money there.
This is a tip of the cap to George McCaskey, Kevin Warren, and Ryan Poles. You know who I talked to. I showed you my phone.
Yep.
And they called me yesterday and said, okay, how about some credit? George deserves credit. He got to a place that he had never, ever been in terms of financial commitment. They paid off Eberflus $9 million. Now, some of that can be offset if he takes another job. But the point is, if he doesn't go back to work, says, I'm taking some time off, they owe him $9 million. They owe Shane Waldron almost $5, I believe. He had a multi-year deal. That's $14 million. Let's assume there's offset in there. Still 10. Ben Johnson's 5 years, right around 60, 62, plus some bonuses. The Bears have never, ever in their life done something like this. So they deserve all the credit in the world. They're stepping up.
If he had taken the Raider job to go to the AFC West with no quarterback, rather than go coach Caleb, I would no longer think he would have been a great hire. Be like, oh, okay, I've overestimated your football IQ. That's like that's I would just be the gravitational pull of Brady is just so massive he couldn't turn him down, but it would have been crazy.
Ben Johnson is awesome. Like, there's a reason why he was coveted. And you can say the resume and the players that he had in Detroit is not what he has in Chicago, and that is of course true. But since 2022, Detroit is first in everything. And Jared Goff's not the best player in football, right? So he has at least overachieved relative to the talent that he has at quarterback as an offensive play caller with a body of work of 3 seasons.
Not to be a stickler, but second in rush TDs. So they're not first in everything.
But fine,
I heard first in everything.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Liar!
He's going to get a lot out of DJ Moore because number one, he's going to get DJ Moore in his best behavior next year because that guy was so miserable this year. So he's going to get DJ Moore in his best behavior. He's going to get DJ Moore in the screen game. You're going to be able to do a lot of things with him, gadget-wise that I don't think people realize. Like, he's very good with the football in his hands.
Ben Johnson, well, he knows offense. He's not taking that Lions O-line with him or that incredible Lions running back room with him or the great culture builder Dan Campbell with him. Chicago is going to be tough to navigate. Matt Nagy got to the playoffs twice with Mitch Trubisky, and they ran him out of town. It's a noisy city. They run managers out of town. They go after players. It's Boston. It's Philly. It's Chicago. Maybe they're Midwest nice, but they're noisy.
The Bears took a damn swing, a big, bold, expensive swing. If it doesn't work and he falls on his face and he's not a leader of men and it doesn't, fine. The Bears didn't hit a bloop single. They didn't hit a sacrifice fly. They're trying to jack one onto Waveland Avenue over the left field fence. And I love that he's brash. I love that he's young because so much of this organization is still wrapped up in and obsessed with 1985. How do you get past 1985?
Ben Johnson was born in 1986. There you go. 1986. He wasn't even alive for Buddy Ryan and all those great defenses. But I absolutely am so excited about it. The only thing mid-'80s about this, it feels like an 80s high school movie. The Bears got the girl. They're going to prom with Molly Ringwald. I could not be more excited.
Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Demi Moore, Molly Ringwald, Bear says, Aldo just put this on to keep us occupied when he went to the bar. That's right. And a tequila on a Tuesday. Good stuff, right? I mean, it's with the exception of Colin, but Colin really, I just picked that clip just to have a kind of an opposing view of how the national media looks at Chicago. It's interesting that they look at our media as such a cutthroat, tough place, and us fans, we get managers and coaches fired and stuff. And he was touting the record of Matt Nagy. You know, these national guys just don't know because they're not living it day to day like us Bears fans are. You know, they just don't realize what a terrible flop Matt Nagy was, even if he did have a record of 2 games over 500 and took the Bears to two playoffs out of 4 years. It just doesn't matter because he was a lost cause. He could not really coach an entire football team. And that's the thing we're all concerned about with Ben Johnson. But today's appearance at Halas Hall was very impressive. And tomorrow he's got a press conference at Halas Hall. The Bears will officially introduce him to the media and therefore to us. And we'll get a really good taste of him as a leader there. I should send some questions to Herb Howard and all the other people. But they get so many limited chances to ask a question. Why should they pick one of mine as opposed to one of their own? So, by the way, a lot of people have been asking, where is Don Burr? Where is Don Burr? Yeah, fuck Don Burr. You know what? I've always welcomed him on this show and any of the shows in the Barroom Network. And when people pleaded with me to get rid of his ass because he was annoying and stuff, I said, let's keep him around. He's fun to pick on and so forth. Well, after the Lions loss, of course, you know, we had a show right afterwards. He elected not to be on that show. He knew he was going to get made fun of. But it was also on our first show back, Gabriel Talks Football. Was it that show? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that show. He comes on. Don Burr says, yeah, fuck Ben Johnson. Him and his stupid trick plays can go to Chicago. Yeah, fuck Aaron Glenn. I'm all like, what is wrong with you, man? Don't you have any class to congratulate us on a day that is so important to Bears fans that we get our guy? You know, why don't you come on here and say, hey, I was wrong, guys, about my Lions, but, you know, we'll talk some more shit. But instead, he comes on trolling again, and he does it in such a manner which is to piss and shit on our good news. I lost it then. I started blocking him. He got a way to come back. I don't know. He's got multiple accounts and stuff. I kept blocking him. And at least for a while anyway, he's just not welcome in here in the barroom. You know, I hate to be a prick, but I guess I am being a prick, right? Maybe I should let him back. I don't know. Brandon with the $10 tip. Thank you, man. That's for not having Dan Orlovsky clips. That is good. That is very, very good. I will make sure to keep Dan Orlovsky off the Barroom Network's media highlights reel. That is good. Danny Shimon is supposed to join us any minute now, so I'll kill a little bit of time here. But, you know, one of the things I want to talk, hey, did I play this already? No, I don't think I did. You know, after news came out that Ben Johnson was coming to the Chicago Bears, Dan Campbell did a Zoom. And I got invited to the Zoom, so I asked him a question.
Coach, why is your offensive coordinator leaving to the Bears?
It's my fault. It's my fault.
Fucking pussy, Dan Campbell. crying again. Jesus Christ. That guy cries so much. I mean, he cries when he's happy. He cries when he's disappointed. He probably cries when he has an orgasm. Look at me. Sound like a Jewish guy. Probably cries when he has an orgasm. But, that's going to be my little drop for the next several months.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
I play that during Tucci's Bear State of Affairs. But yeah, we all knew that the Lions had probably the best NFC team. I think we could safely say they were the best team in the NFC. Their record proved it. But we all knew that this team was prone to mistakes. Dan Campbell's decision making and being taking so many risks that could potentially go back on them. We knew about Jared Goff and how turnover prone he is. We knew about the injuries on the defense. That's why I went to X and I put in a poll saying, how are the Lions going to win? And those were the three examples. Goff interceptions, that one got the most. It got like 35, 40%. Campbell being overly aggressive, that one got the second most. And the third most was injuries to the defense. And then on fourth, it was the Lions are not going to lose. And about 20% of the people voted for that. But I just, I'm not saying that I was certain that they were going to lose, but I knew they were a high-risk team because of how they played. And frankly, it looks now that maybe the NFC North isn't quite as competitive as people have made it out to be. Maybe they had the softer schedule. All three teams lose their first game in the playoffs: Packers, Vikings, and Lions. I mean, what does that say to you guys about the NFC North? And who knows what the Lions are going to look like next year? They're talking about, promoting an offensive coordinator from within and looking outside for a defense. In that press conference, Dan Campbell says, I'm definitely going to be involved in the offense. It almost sounded like he was pissed off that Ben got so much credit for the offense. Well, it was his offense, and he had total control over it. And Dan didn't leave it. And so he said, at that press conference, I'm going to go back to being more involved day to day. I mean, that's my specialty, offense. And so we'll see if that makes them a better team or a worse team. My money is they're not going to win as many games as they did this year, and that you're going to see that gradual downhill slide to mediocrity. I got to give it to Brad Holmes, the GM for the Lions. He's very good at what he does. He's going to replenish that roster. But we all know every general manager has hits and misses. He's had his hits. He could be due for a really bad draft. And if that happens, watch out, baby, because the Bears are going to be on the climb. Mr. Mayhem says the Lions will go back to being bottom feeders. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Let's see. Keith says, right, Keith. I expect Lions and Vikings to take a step back. Can Johnson turn things around by September? We'll see. It was very weird that last year he said after they lost, we don't know if we're going to come back. You get this opportunity, you don't know. And so, yeah, you could use that same message now, Mr. Campbell. We don't know if you're going to be back in the playoffs next season. You got a lot of work to do. You got a lot of rebuilding to do. J2K tells us that Kevin O'Connell got extended with the Vikings. I don't think Flores is leaving. I think the Vikings are the team to beat in the North. You may be right, J2K, but the thing is they still are going to be playing a rookie quarterback. And I know what Jaden Daniels is doing, but I don't think J.J. McCarthy is Jaden Daniels. I gotta believe that there's got to, maybe not with the rookie quarterback contract. I was gonna say they're probably in a pinch salary cap wise, but they got rid of the Cousins contract. That's off their books, so they should be all right in replenishing their roster. But we'll see. I think the Vikings. frankly, the Vikings and the Packers, those were more imposters than legitimate contenders, in my opinion. In my opinion, I never thought they had a real chance of going deep into the playoffs. I'm a little surprised by the Lions, but not totally surprised. Those guys, excuse me, those guys surprised me with their early exit. Not totally surprised, like I just said, because you had reasons to be suspicious of their team, but hey, they should have gone on to the NFC Championship game and choked there. That would have been better. As a guy who has recently found new hatred for the Lions fans, that would have been the perfect way for them to get out. Danny Shimon, where are you? I want to know if you're coming. You coming, bro? Because if not, Tooch is going to be early. In fact, the Tooch is already here. So excuse me as I do a little production work here in the background. Danny's got a new girlfriend, so he might be busy, you know. Oh man, I'm an asshole. Anyway, the next big thing that we have to look forward to is free agency. Well, the press conference. Hello, got cut off there. I don't know, just screen went blank. Anyway, tomorrow is a big event. Want to see our guy perform in front of the media. Want him to instill hope. Gotta love what he said today at Halas Hall when he basically kept using the words "we" and "us" and talking about that the locker room was the most important thing and that we have to take care of our locker room. I mean, that's a great opening start for his tenure here with the Chicago Bears, and I expect that at tomorrow's press conference we'll get more of that vibe from him. And then after this press conference, I think what we start paying attention to is not only the college all-star games, but what's going to happen in free agency. And the word is that Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle of the Ravens, might become available because of concerns regarding his injury history and that the Ravens are not going to pay him the $20 million or so that he'll be asking as one of the top left tackles. And it is true that the last 3 seasons, he's missed a handful of games, I think, in each season. And then I think 4 seasons ago, he missed almost the complete season and half of another. So he has had some injury issues and heart concerns and stuff. So is Ryan Poles, who is so conservative with spending free agency dollars, would he target a guy like Stanley, who's got these issues? I got to believe he's got to give it more serious consideration than ever before because of the need to protect the quarterback. Now, Muck earlier in the show says you don't stray away. Here it is. Because now, Aldo, when you stray away from the best player available, that's when you make mistakes. I agree with that, Muck. I totally agree with that. But if you've got somebody on your board who is a cornerback and you're solid at corner right now, and then 5 to 10 slots down on your board, you got an offensive tackle. I think then you have to bypass the cornerback and invest in the offensive lineman. Now, I wouldn't do that for a linebacker or anything. It's because of the importance of the position. It's because of its multiplier effect with the quarterback, the running game, everything. You've got to invest in the offensive line, even if it means deviating from your board a little bit and getting somebody who's a little further down on the board than you had. I totally agree with the best player available. You know, sometimes if you are in a good position at a team and you've already got a good quarterback and there's a great quarterback on the board, at least to your grading, then you do it. But we're far from having that team. We're far from having a veteran quarterback that we know is going to be playing for a while. All right, Danny has joined us. I'm going to put him on, and then Tooch will be with us around the top of the hour. Danny Shimon, how are you, my friend?
What's up, my friend? How are you guys doing tonight?
I was just doing good. I was just preaching your words that you said in the past about investing in the offensive line, even if your board says the DBs are better on your board or ranked higher. You were right. Gotta say
Yeah,
it.
that's something that always sticks to my crawl is when you well, this is going back obviously to the talk that we've had before, Aldo, and a lot of the our listeners have had it before too, in terms of the way Ryan Poles initially came here and rebuilt this team. And I was the big guy sticking for, you got to start with the trenches. And I understand where he said that, possibly, the grades didn't match where they were in that part of the draft. But, we've seen some players that were taken after his couple of picks that have developed into Pro Bowl players. I think one name that you've pointed out before is Cam Jurgens, the center for the Eagles. I think that would have been a nice pick there in the second round of his first draft. But we've kind of gone around this over and over again. But I think what he needs to do now, and I think that's what he will do, is I think with the hiring of Ben Johnson, I think that's going to be a huge emphasis this offseason is getting that offensive line right. And that's what with Ben Johnson coming here, hopefully, some of the names that he's trying to bring in here, maybe a Hank Fraley or something like that from Detroit. We'll see if he's let out of his contract. But those are the type people that will come in here and hopefully give some guidance to Ryan Poles and the scouting department in terms of guys to go after. And I'm not saying go ahead and pick a guy that you have 32nd on your board, 10th overall. That's not what I'm advocating for. That's not what you advocate for. But it's just dumping more resources into the offensive line. It might not match your board in the first round, but let's not forget about them in the second round. Let's maneuver in the draft and get in line where you're, with that value there will pick up more picks and so on and so forth. So there's a number of different things that I can go over here with Ryan Poles in terms of what he's done, in terms of how he's tried to build this team. But I think what today signifies, and obviously tomorrow we'll see that we'll hear the press conference. But I think what today signifies is hopefully that the Bears have finally brought in an innovative young coach who, while is no guarantee. So while he was one of my favorites, he's the guy that I've been touting his praises for a couple of years now. That's a guy that he was primary on my list last year. If they had gotten rid of Eberflus, it would have been Jim Harbaugh, and then Ben Johnson would have been right behind him. They went and got him, and a couple of things that his hiring really kind of signifies to me. And I'm sorry, I had some technical difficulties. I didn't catch the first half hour of your show, so I don't know if you've covered this. So for the audience, I do apologize if I'm repeating Aldo has already said. But to me, although we talked about in the past, you and I, and along with John and Alyssa, is the continuous rinse and repeat of the mistakes that the McCaskies have made over and over again. The one difference this time, and that's something I highlighted, was Kevin Warren. He was the one person that was different than what had happened in their past. And if you guys haven't had a chance to read Kaylin Kaler's article on ESPN, where she kind of opens up the bag in terms of what was happening with Ted Phillips and Trace Armstrong in the background there in those previous coaching searches, please do you guys yourself a favor and read that article. But what Kevin Warren has come in, and the way this process moved, this has Kevin Warren's hands written all over it. Now, curious to see, hear your thoughts about this and some of the listeners as well. But I think the way the Bears targeted Ben Johnson, I think the way that he was hired, the first day he was available to be hired or be brought in for an in-person interview, he was hired on the spot. They didn't have to go out and do any sort of in-person interview or anything like that. They didn't bring him in and show him the bells and whistles, and he ends up leaving to go see another team and then ends up losing him. That's the stuff the Bears would have done in the past. He was targeted. He was the guy they wanted. They had communicated with him through back channels. They wanted him. He expressed the desire to come here and coach Caleb. So I think it was a perfect match. And once they had a chance to pounce, they pounced. And obviously the money they paid was something for, that's a higher paid, if what's reported is true, is a higher paid scale for first-time coaches. So I think that shows, Kevin Warren kind of, he let Ryan Poles kind of take the lead, but he was hovering about that. And he's done everything to make this team kind of step up into, if you will, the 2024s of NFL ownership, right? Even the small thing of having a private jet, renting a private jet, going and getting a Mike McCarthy, flying him into Palawaki, and not putting him in coach like they did with Dan Quinn, and even with Ryan Poles having, Jordan McCaskey, walk up there and greet him at O'Hare, flying in, Ben Johnson and his family on a private jet. Those small things makes a big difference. And I think, even with the whole thing, the greeting today, where, he walks into, Halas Hall, and everyone, all the offices are out there, big rousing ovation for him to come in. I think that is all Kevin Warren's hands all over it. So I think that is what's positive. Now, is there a risk with hiring Ben Johnson? Of course, he's a first-time head coach. We don't know how he's going to go ahead and be in front of that room. Can he command the room? We'll see how that goes. Things we've heard out of Detroit, very positive, very encouraging. But then the work's not done, right? Offensive line needs to be attacked. He needs to fill out his coaching staff. What kind of defensive coordinators are going to hire? Dennis Allen is the guy that's been rumored. I have mixed emotions about Dennis Allen, but he's a respected defensive coordinator. So that's to see how the staff fills out. But again, now the work starts in terms of getting that offensive line, building the system around Caleb Williams. So I'm very intrigued, very encouraged by what happened is this first step, but it's only a first step. It's not something I'm going to be like, all right, the Bears are making the playoffs next year. No. Let's pump the brakes on that. Let's see how the rest of the offseason goes. Let's see how they fill out the rest of the coaching staff. And now let's see how they build this offense and this team around Caleb being that franchise quarterback.
Well said. You amplified some of my points, and it's worth amplifying. You said it very well, and I totally agree with Warren getting credit for how this process was dealt. He's a businessman, and this has the fingerprints of a kind of business strategy. When I worked in corporate America, HR people told me, if you already know who you want to fill in that job, let that person know. That person know, but go ahead and continue to interview people in case we can't work out a deal. And that's exactly how the Chicago Bears went about it. I said earlier in the show that probably at that Zoom meeting, it started off with the Bears people telling Ben, we want you, and then him saying, yeah, I want to go there too. And it was all hunky-dory after that. By the way, thank you, Lennox, for the $2 donation. And he also asked, is BJ stealing the head coach or the offensive coordinator from the Lions? It looks like it's going to be Engstrom, who was one of the assistant offensive coaches, who's going to get promoted to offensive coordinator, and Hank Fraley. Have you heard of Hank Fraley, Danny?
Yeah, Hank Fraley, former NFL player. He's the guy that when Ben Johnson got to Detroit, he was an assistant offensive line coach, and he's kind of come through the ranks, and he's really kind of worked hand in hand with Ben Johnson from all the reports I've gathered in terms of developing that rapport with Detroit. But Hank Fraley is the guy that I'm looking at now. I don't know if Detroit's going to go ahead and promote him to offensive coordinator. Now Hank Fraley has gone to Seattle. He's had 2 interviews for the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator position. So in order to get him here with Chicago, they're going to have to give him the offensive coordinator title, maybe even an assistant head coach title. We'll see how that works out, because I'm not sure how he wants to do it. He obviously needs someone that he needs to rely on, right? He needs someone that, because he's a head coach now, the daily things in terms of being an offensive coordinator, the practice schedules, the script and the practices, you're coming up with designing the game plan for that week. He needs assistance with that, because now he's going to have to manage the entire team. Now, if he gets a defensive coordinator like a Dennis Allen, sure, he can let Dennis Allen, a former head coach, kind of handle the defensive side. He's still got to peek his head in there and check in on the defensive guys, but still, the minutia of the offensive coordinator position, where you got to build those scripts, you got to plan practices, you got to put together a game plan. That's got to be someone that he's got to bring in. That's got to be his right hand man that kind of fits in lock and step. And Hank Fraley, I think, would be a hell of a choice, because not only will he give him the offensive coordinator title position, but also now he can help build that offensive line, identify the offensive linemen that they feel could fill what they want to do here in Chicago. So I think that would be a hell of a choice. Now, hopefully, they can get him in here, but we'll see how that works. I feel bad a little bit for Detroit, because Dan Campbell's coaching staff is going to be just plucked apart here between Ben Johnson. Eventually, Aaron Glenn's going to get the job there with New York, I believe. So he's going to pluck some guys there as well. So we'll see how Detroit recovers. But that's the guy.
Dan Campbell.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
Poor guy. I mean, he's emotional. It's okay.
I'm going to continue to make fun of him because these Detroit Lions fans are spitting on us and spitting on Ben Johnson. I had a video where a bunch of people at Detroit were saying, he's Benedict Arnold, he's Osama bin Laden, he's terrible. It's like, dude, get a life.
This guy was gone. I mean, every reports were him and Aaron Glenn were going to get jobs. So I don't know what the big thing. The offense scored 31 points. On Saturday. It's not the offense's part. I mean, from my opinion, there are a couple of play calls there here and there that I could question. I saw those. I was like, but it's they scored 31 points, and Jared Goff had the 5 turnovers, or the offense had the 5 turnovers. I think it was 4 interceptions by Jared Goff, I believe it was. So I don't think it was Ben Johnson's fault. I don't think Ben Johnson went out there and said, I'm getting the Bears job, and I don't care what happens here. Quite contrary. I mean, every time he was asked about it by the Detroit media, he said, I'm focused on here now. The interviews are going to be happy to take care of themselves later on. So that's why Aldo, I think, you mentioned, the Zoom call. I actually think the backdoor channel conversation had already happened prior to the Zoom call. I think they knew they wanted Ben Johnson. I think they communicated that to Ben Johnson. I think they knew that Ben Johnson wanted them. So I think that's why it was just a matter of, they didn't even bring him in for in-person interview. That rarely happens in the NFL, that you hire a head coach and don't even bring him in for in-person interview. That's because that tells me a lot of the back channel stuff has happened. A lot of the discussions, a lot of the negotiations already been done. The Zoom call was more of a formal, hey, I'm Ryan, this is Kevin, blah, 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 all this stuff. I think that made it more formal, and they knew they wanted to be with each other. I think as soon as the first day, like I said, they was able to get him, they went and got him. And that's something that we have not seen here in Chicago. The Bears act like that. And again, going back to what we both said, that's Kevin Warren written all over it.
Hey, Danny, have you seen Don Burr anywhere around?
I thought about him on Saturday night, which I never think about Don Burr on Saturday night, but I'm like, what happens? What's Don Burr doing right now? But no, I have not seen him on Twitter. This is my first podcast since the game. So I'm curious, is he in the chat? Is he?
No, he's not in the chat. Well, he was in yesterday's chat, and I got pissed off at him. And then after I banned him, I started to get even more angry at him because he was saying Ben Johnson sucks with his trick plays. After all year, last 2-3 years, saying Ben Johnson is a genius, he'll never go to Chicago. And so I started to get mad. And so I started going to all the Detroit Lions podcasts, and I started posting on the chat.
Barroom Network, that's fine. He's not a member of the show. I can't tell him that physically, but every now and then he gets in.
I'm posting in the chat. I'm stalking, but I'm making it seem like I'm going to kick his ass, like I can kick anybody's ass. That train left the station about 20 years ago, but I'm making it seem that way. So, hopefully get some laughs out of it. But yeah, Don Burr, wherever you are, I'm looking for you, bro.
It's in action, no, Don. Come on, you gotta be able to take it when you can dish it out, but you can't take it. Come on, that's not
exactly. Cool. Exactly, and I don't mind the trolling. I love it. Man, although when I did go to 2-6. I don't, part of trolling, part of the game, part of being a fan is that you troll, you make fun of the other team and so forth. But you always have to set aside some time to share your true feelings. Hey, I respect your team. I respect what's going on. Tough loss on Saturday and so forth, and exchange those. But for him to come back, his first appearance back is for him to be firing bombs at us, I just, that's sad. Poorly with
people
me.
Just don't deal with not a tragedy, but a tough loss or a tough moment very well. And we got it with the double doink. Remember the double doink? How I don't want to appear anywhere, and I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go talk the next day. But it's what are you going to do, right? It's your fan. You root and you cheer, and the players are on the field and they got to perform. And it didn't work out for them. So, we just come back and move on. But just to go, to throw haymakers and then go missing, that's not cool.
It's not cool. All right. So, what is your problem with Dennis Allen?
Well, not that, I mean, in terms of it just doesn't inspire for me someone that I would say, all right, like Vic Fangio. Like I get excited. Vic Fangio, he is not available. I'm saying like Vic Fangio came in as defensive coordinator. Bam. Like I know that's going to be that defense is going to be great. And there are a couple other names that are currently interviewing for head coaching jobs that I was hoping that he would look at. Namely Robert Saleh. That we're now getting a second interview with, I believe, the Jacksonville Jaguars for the head coaching job. I even had this notion maybe a Ron Rivera. Maybe that's why they spurned that interview with Ron Rivera. Maybe to see if he'd be interested in defensive coordinator position. But the one thing with Dennis Allen, though, the positive with Dennis Allen, though, in terms of defensive coordinator, he's a guy that the players currently on the team will fit right in. Right, he's a guy that runs a 4-3 system. You take a look at his base is pretty similar to Eberflus. He runs 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, basically a nickel, and he runs 5 defensive backs. The one thing that he's not a true cover 2, Tampa 2, if you will, coordinator. He does do a lot of in the back end. So he does some man coverage, just some zone, some 3-quarters, some shells, so on and so forth. But the one constant is his 4 down linemen go up the field. They're attacking one gap guys. So I think guys like Montez Sweat and guys like Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens and even the number 95 Walker, DeMarcus Walker. I think all those guys fit that scheme, and obviously got to add some more to it. But the one thing I will say about Dennis Allen defenses, those front 4, not only are they quick and athletic, but they're also physical as hell. So that's one thing I do like is that the defensive line is going to be a more physical defensive line. He's not going to get these big fat guys in there that's going to just hog up blockers, but I think he's going to get guys that get upfield, generate pressure with his front 4 guys, but they're going to bring a level of physicality that I think we're going to enjoy here watching. In terms of his designs, his blitzes, they're not really exotic. There are some times where he gets a little fancy with his pressures, but for the most part, he's not the one thing I do like is not a cover 2, basic cover 2, temp 2 guy, but he does kind of mix his coverages and again utilize that front 4 to provide that pressure up front. So, but I was always really hoping for like a Robert Saleh. That's the kind of guy I had earmarked, hopefully coming in here with Ben Johnson.
There was somebody on X today that posted a post that said that Kyler Gordon should love this defense from Dennis Allen if indeed he becomes the defensive coordinator for the Bears. And this is what he says: the Bears rumored to bring in Dennis Allen as their DC means Kyler Gordon is going to eat as a rusher. Dennis doesn't blitz often, but his exotics and over tackle overloads let his nickel dominate. Here's some examples from this past season. And boy, does this look like a great opportunity for Kyler Gordon, right, Danny?
Yeah, it's similar to where Eberflus was kind of using Gordon as well. We use him in coverages, use him as a blitzer off the edge. Disguise him. I think Kyler Gordon is a guy. We're talking about Ryan Poles as second round pick. I think that's a guy that has a chance if he stays healthy on the football field, can really take the next step. So yeah, he doesn't really get exotic with his blitzes like we talked about here earlier. But 4 guys down linemen bring the pressure, and then a guy like Gordon, I think will really have a chance to flourish in a Dennis Allen-led defense. The one guy that I feel like might not have or could be a cap cut, I don't know that his salary cap ramifications is Tremaine Edmonds. I think that guy could be a guy that could be kicked out. You could bring in a linebacker, a veteran free agent, or you can go draft one. You have TJ Edwards. I think he's a guy. You have Sam Bourne as well, I think, is a solid defensive linebacker as well. So I think you have those 2 guys, and you can add to it via free agency and also the draft. And I think if you can save some money in terms of the salary cap, Tremaine Edmonds could be a salary cap casualty here moving forward under the Dennis Allen regimes, if we get Dennis Allen.
If Dennis Allen comes, I looked to see who was a free agent from the defensive side of the ball, and Marcus Davenport is a free agent. Would you entertain looking at Marcus Davenport to play opposite Montez?
No, I think Davenport is a guy that's always injured. I believe he's with Minnesota this year. I think he signed with Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
He was drafted, I believe, by the Saints, but I believe he's with Minnesota this year. But he's injured again, so he's a guy that has a trouble staying healthy. I think you can always go out there and we can attack that edge rusher or defensive line opposite of Montez, probably in the first round of the draft. I'm particularly looking at that 10th pick. If they stay at number 10, that's a sweet spot where they can probably address that. So we'll see where it goes. But I think interior, someone next to Gervon Dexter should be another priority for them as well. So I haven't had a chance yet to look at the free agent list in terms of who's potentially a free agent, coming up this offseason. So that'll be curious to see how many of these New Orleans Saints guys are actually on the market and available for Allen probably to pluck and bring in. But yeah, I think that the corners are going to be good. I think, we talked about Collar Gordon. I think, Montez Sweat and Gervon Dexter and these guys upfield one step, get up in those gaps and cause havoc. I think those guys are going to be good there as well. So, again, just in terms of my problem, you asked me what was my problem. I really don't have a problem with him. There's a couple other different names that I was kind of hoping for. So we'll see what plays out here.
Tooch, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Oh, he's nodding. He's putting away the chips. Danny, can you stick with us to the end of the show? We're going to go to about 10 o'clock.
I'll stick around for a little bit more yet.
All right. Well, let me bring in Johnny Santucci. He is known all around the world as the Tooch, and he is formerly of the porn world. He's made a lot of outstanding movies. He's a tremendous writer, entertainer, humorist. And he's got a cold today, so
little cough, yeah.
Little cough. Did you take some codeine?
Took some Dayquil, because if I take NyQuil, I'm just gonna fall asleep here. I mean, you guys are so fucking boring. I'm kidding.
And please.
I didn't want to get too sleepy. I can't think and shit. But yeah, they got some lozenges to help me.
Look at you. So you're all set.
Yeah.
Was it easy to write a Bear State of Affairs for tonight, or
yeah?
Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to
Ben Johnson era.
The Ben Johnson era. Let's get to it. That way the three of us can talk on the other end. Here it comes. Johnny Santucci.
Everyone on this show is a dog and a loser. Not John. He's the best, except for me. Except for me.
Yeah, all right. Bear State of Affairs, man. Do we win the offseason? Yeah, Olin. I love Olin.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, looks like we won the offseason. Yeah, NFL offseason week 3. What's happening, Barflies? Well, it's week 3 of this offseason, Aldo, and the Bears won for the second time in 2025. Yeah. Yeah, Danny, was arguably the biggest win in a long time. Yeah, longer than most Bears fans can remember, it seems, right? Yeah. And the Bears beat Tom Brady.
I love it.
Yeah, before yesterday, Tom Terrific was 6-1 versus the Bears. Yeah, feels nice to get a big offseason win, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Yeah, the big news came yesterday. Yeah, when the Bears came to terms with Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson beating out the Las Vegas Raiders and Tom Brady. Yeah. Yeah, Brady, now a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders franchise, made a late push to sign Ben Johnson, but Johnson eventually chose the Bears. And Caleb Williams, a franchise quarterback, and a division that does not include Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Mark man. Yeah, so the Ben Johnson era now begins in Chicago, and one thing is certain: it can't be worse than the Eberflus era.
That's for sure.
Yeah, Johnson, 38, was arguably the hottest name among the available coaching candidates this offseason after leading the Lions offense to a league best 33.2 points per game. Yeah, Johnson might be bringing Dennis Allen with him. Allen, a former head coach, is a talented defensive coordinator, where Brian Flores brings exotic fronts and blitzes. Allen likes to use exotic coverages, and with the Bears' talented secondary, the possibilities are intriguing. And man, the Bears really needed a big win this offseason, especially after such a turbulent regular season, and especially after a shit ton of negative publicity and bad luck, Aldo.
You ain't kidding, man.
Yeah, after all, the Bears were one of only 2 teams in NFL history to start a season 4-2 or better, and then proceed to lose 10 straight games. That's been a rough last 3 years, actually. Yeah, Bears endured the 2 longest losing streaks in team history during the Eberflus era. So, damn, this feels good. It feels like victory. Watching the excitement from Ben Johnson has electrified the fan base. Fans have something to look forward to. Fans have renewed hope. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. Yeah, it was a turbulent year for Bears chairman George McCaskey, too.
He's a fucking idiot.
He sure is. Yeah. It was a year of firsts for George McCaskey. Yeah, it seemed as if he never wanted the team to appear on Hard Knocks, perhaps fearing that the spotlight would expose the ugly warts and socially awkward ineptitudes of the team's owners.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. He also was forced to fire a coach mid-season, something the team had never done before. Yeah, no, it could not have been easy for George. He owed failed head coach Matt Eberflus $9 million. He owed failed offensive coordinator Shane Waldron $5 million. And yesterday, he had to write a big check for Ben Johnson. Yeah. Yeah, but that put a smile on a fan base that has had little to smile about in the past decade. So no, this couldn't have been easy for a franchise with a century-long reputation of being cheap. And last week, things sunk to a new low for George McCaskey and the Bears, thanks to a brutal expose from Kaylin Keller of ESPN. In her article, she wrote about a small group of agents' overwhelming power over the NFL head coach cycle every year. And no team has felt the sting of this more than the Bears, who've been at the mercy of Trace Armstrong going all the way back to 2018. Never forget that Ryan Poles chose Matt Eberflus over Dan Quinn at the behest of then Bears shadow president Trace Armstrong.
Nope.
Yeah, since 2018, Armstrong, a former Bears defensive end turned agent, and his agency, Athletes First, have represented 2 fired Bears head coaches in Matt Nagy and Matt Eberflus, 3 fired offensive coordinators in Mark Helfrich, Luke Getsy, and Shane Waldron, as well as current Bears GM Ryan Poles. Said one coaching agent who requested anonymity so he could speak freely on this topic, quote, "I've never seen one agent have so much influence on one team and the team have so little success. But they keep going back and taking his guys, and we all kind of shake our heads like, have they not figured it out yet?"
What the hell? Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, let me break this down for you, Aldo.
Please do.
Yeah. Basically, Trace Armstrong has been the Bears' dealer whenever they needed a fix.
Whenever they needed a hit.
Yep. Whenever they needed something, Trace Armstrong had it. Yeah. Basically, Trace Armstrong, yeah, he's been responsible for most of the Bears' woes these recent years. The guy is like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Yeah. Yeah, he's a Rasputin, a snake oil salesman with a direct line to George McCaskey. Yeah. After the scathing article, however, the Bears management team of Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, and George McCaskey rallied and seemed to turn a corner, flying in head coaching candidates on private jets after previously flying them in on fucking Spirit Airlines. Yeah, but they ponied up for Johnson, making him the 5th highest paid coach in the league, with an annual salary rumored to be around $13 million.
What?
Yeah, yes, that will be more than Johnson's former boss, Lions head coach Dan Campbell, is making.
That's why he's crying.
Yeah, I was waiting for the drop, but
sorry, I missed my cue.
Speaking of the Lions, their season ended Saturday when they were eliminated by the Commanders, who coincidentally also derailed Matt Eberflus of the Bears season with the Fail Mary in D.C. when the Bears were 4-2 and thinking playoffs. Yeah, this season the Lions could have been one of the easiest teams to cheer for. After all, like Don Burr, they've been a bottom feeder forever.
I'm crying.
He's not here. He's not here to have to experience that one. Although,
oh shit!
I know, right? Wasted. Yeah. Instead, the team celebrated injuries while the fan base acted like fools. Watching their demise might have been the highlight of my season. Yeah, that and plundering the Lions coaching staff has the Bears offseason off to a great start. Is Ben Johnson the coach to finally get the Bears back to the playoffs? Only time will tell.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
Remember, Poles picked Matt Eberflus over Dan Quinn and Shane Waldron over Cliff Kingsbury. So are we certain that he and the Bears know good coaching when they see it? Time will tell. Also, it doesn't help that Quinn and Kingsbury and the Commanders are in the NFC Championship game with their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. The quarterback picked one spot behind the Bears franchise quarterback, Caleb Williams. The success of the Commanders and Jaden Daniels will likely cast a pall over the Bears, sparking the argument of who was the better pick, Daniels or Williams, for years to come, at least until the Bears and Johnson start winning again. Well, now the Bears need to invest in Caleb Williams' development first and foremost. That includes offensive line strength and offensive stability. A revolving door at offensive coordinator is the last thing they need. Will Ben Johnson finally provide offensive stability and get the Bears on the road to winning consistently? Again, only time will tell. But there's hope, and that is Bears State of Affairs.
Yeah, baby.
We're finished talking.
Very well done, Johnny Santucci. Very well done. Danny, did Tooch say anything there that you want to tear apart?
Well, you don't want to tear apart, but something that I've been thinking about as well, Tooch, is I wanted Ben Johnson, and then the Bears wanted Ben Johnson.
Yep. So
what am I missing wrong? Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm like, wait. I wanted Ben Johnson, and the Bears wanted Ben Johnson. It doesn't make sense because whatever I want, the Bears never want.
That's a great point. Yeah. So like nothing ever works out for them.
Did we all get duped here by Ben Johnson? We'll see what happens. But I mean that's the one thing I was like, man, that was too easy. Like that was way too easy. That's why I was hoping it's Kevin Warren. It's Kevin Warren. He's different. He's the new piece that we haven't had before, and this is all his fingerprints all over this. But yeah, that kind of worried me too, guys. It was like they went and got the guy that we all wanted. Like, what are we missing? Kind of thing.
I think what we're missing is the importance of having a really good football team when you're out there asking the state for money to build your new stadium. I think that's a prime motivation for why Kevin Warren convinced George McCaskey to open up the pocketbook. He probably, George is probably asking, man, why is this taking so long? And Warren is saying, we got to field a good team. Well, when are we going to field a good team? I need money for a coach. I think that conversation has probably happened at Halas Hall with those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, to me, coaching has become more important than general manager in the NFL.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
For a while.
Yeah.
What was that? Coaching more important than I mean, coaching is very important in the NFL. I mean that's why
responsible for. I mean, they're more directly responsible for winning. I know the general manager can put the players on it, and great players will make a bad head coach look pretty good and whatnot. But I mean, when you have good coaching in place, it makes a ton of difference.
And that's why, guys, I feel like that the Bears have finally come around to this thinking here because, right now, currently, right, we haven't heard anything differently. Ben Johnson's got a longer contract than Ryan Poles. So if next year Ben Johnson goes in and says, hey, listen, man, these players that Poles gave me, they're just not working out. Right. I got this guy named Ray Agnew, who's assistant general manager with Detroit. I think he'd be a great hire. And guess what? If Ryan Poles is on that one-year contract, he's out. Ray Agnew's in. That's why if you're going to get a head coach worth his salt, whether it's Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin, and allow them to come in here and pick their GM. The guy has the title of GM, but basically what he's going to be doing, he's going to be working with a coach and picking the type of player that he needs to build his culture or to build his team in order to have the same vision and to have success ultimately on the football field. So, all we've heard so far is that Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson so far have the same vision. They're all both equally excited to work with each other. If that's true, great. And the one thing that I will say about Ryan Poles, all that I've knocked on him over the past, what he does and what I've seen him do is he will defer to his coach. If his coach says, hey, Ryan Poles says, I want this defensive tackle. His coach says, this guy fits better in my scheme. I don't want this guy. He will defer because that's what you do as a scout and as a GM. You got to give the coach the player he wants, because if you force a player on a coach, this has happened throughout the years of football. If you force a player on a coach, that player will not succeed. That coach will use that player as a
like Velus Jones.
Well, I think that was, I don't know if Eberflus would sit there and say I want Velus Jones. That might have been different, right? But who knows who picked Velus Jones? But the way Poles was gushing about him, that might have been a Poles pick. But in terms of like a defensive tackle, my only thing, and this is something that we talked about ad nauseum at the time of the draft was Jalen Carter, right? Jalen Carter at number 9, and everyone talked about, they brought him in for, was it a day or two? Although, do you remember back then how many days he spent here with the Bears? And then they ended up bypassing Jalen Carter and then getting Darnell Wright. And Jalen Carter is now an all-pro or Pro Bowl defensive tackle. Now, the one thing that we all said was they figured this kid was just something that they couldn't handle. But what kind of culture are you building if you're telling me that you cannot take a talented kid like Jalen Carter and get him under control like the Eagles have done, right? Now, is Jalen Carter missing some meetings? We don't know all that stuff. But, just to get him on the field, harness that energy on the field and develop this kid and make him a Pro Bowl talent like he is now in Philadelphia. You pass up on a guy like that, that's going to come back and haunt Ryan Poles for a long time. Darnell Wright is going to be an okay offensive lineman. But I think that's the guy that Jalen Carter it's always sticks to my craw. And I know he's not for everybody. To me, he's like a current version of Ndamukong Suh, but just more talented in terms of getting after the quarterback. So, but what kind of culture are you building if you can't take talented football players and get them to fit and get them to, have success on your football field, on the football team?
I got to tell you, Jalen Carter, and I said this on Gabriel Talks Football, Jalen Carter, when it was draft time, he was involved right after the championship game. He was involved in a major auto accident where he left the scene, and there was somebody, his teammate was in another car, and it was burning. That was a terrible display of character. Maybe he could have done something to help that person, but he left the scene. He shows up to the combine or his pro day. He was totally out of shape. He couldn't finish the workout and so forth. He was being sued by people involved in that auto accident. There were stories about his behavior in college. He was just too dangerous, Yes, he's by far the better player. This is for instance, my example that I've been saying. Sometimes you got to bypass the best player available, and Poles did that time, and he invested correctly on the offensive line to protect his quarterback. That is more important. I'm very critical of Poles, but I'm never going to criticize him for that. I think he made the best on-time decision at the time. Now, you can look back 5-10 years and say, oh, Carter's in the Hall of Fame, and Darnell Wright's just an average offensive lineman. And you could use that to prove me wrong. But right now, from how recent history tells me, he did the right thing.
You have to give Poles credit where credit is due for some of his moves. He secured, he did what had to be done to get Caleb Williams. He so far has gotten Ben Johnson. You're right. He's picked, Darnell Wright and Gavon Dexter and Kyler Gordon, players who are good players, And I'm critical of him too, although, I don't think his drafts have been good enough. When I think of great drafters, man, like Ozzie Newsome, Bill Tobin, these guys were fantastic drafters. Bill Walsh, and, just they picked players. They had great drafts almost every year. The Steelers, the Ravens, those teams always had great drafts. And that's all I think that's what I want for the Bears.
Mm-hmm. And I hear you guys. You guys are both making excellent points. Although I agree with you in terms of the whole pre-draft stuff. That was a bad look for Carter. Tush, I understand where you're coming from as well. But my point is, guys, there are a ton of Hall of Fame players that were bad people off the football field, but we never heard about it, right? Because there wasn't the days of social media. Everything's being highlighted and glorified. There weren't 80 million draft experts and everybody's pulling tapes and all that stuff here and there. But the thing is, if you are an organization because all we heard was one of the reasons why he kept Eberflus was got the culture, our culture. Yeah. Well, guess what? Your culture sucked. And all the players this year came out and told us your culture sucked because they revolted against
they mutinied.
Right? So knowing now, after now I see why they didn't bring in a guy like John Carter, because there's no way Eberflus could have controlled him.
Exactly.
But that's the thing,
that's proving our point.
Yeah, right. So that's
right,
the thing.
Danny.
But you cannot absolve him of not seeing it as a general manager. Absolve him of not seeing it earlier, saying, "Hey, this guy Eberflus, he doesn't have control of this locker, of this culture. This might be a mistake I made." And it all kind of unravels in that Kalen Kaler article there, because they gave Poles 3 guys that they already interviewed. So, you can go ahead and reopen this head coaching search again. But here are 3 guys. It was Dan Quinn, Jim Caldwell, and Matt Eberflus. And he picked Eberflus. Why? Because he has the same representative, and he knew him from a previous outing that he had, that the agency that he represents, Trace Armstrong, Athletes First, had a gathering, a golf tournament, and that's how he met Eberflus, and that's why he knew Eberflus, and that's why he hired him. So that really ticks me off, is because you have a chance to, you've wasted, what is it, 4 years here, and a whole rebuild and all that stuff. So that really gets under my crawl, is because that's not the way you build a football team. That's not the way you do this. But this is something that we have to kind of live with now, and hopefully hiring of Johnson, I believe, and I'm curious what you guys think. I think Johnson comes in here with some cachet, guys. I think he comes in here and saying, I'm gonna work with you, Ryan Poles. You're not gonna dictate to me who you're gonna draft based off of your grades. I'm gonna work with you and say, all right, hey, player Joe Smith over there, I want him on my team. You make it happen. I think
he has control of the roster, the final roster.
I don't think he has control of the roster, because contractually it belongs to Ryan Poles. But I think there are some things in his contract that says that he's going to be able to have some say in the roster, right? Now, whether that's the final 53 on game days, whether that's in the draft process, we'll see. But I have a feeling that Ben Johnson got some say in terms of how this roster is going to be constructed moving forward.
Interesting. Now, guys, I got to run and take a whiz. Why don't you 2 guys share your opinions about Ben Johnson and what the Bears could be installed for with his offensive genius? And I'll join you in about less than 5 minutes.
All right.
Yep. 5 minutes.
It is a long time. Ben Johnson, look, the last game against the Commanders wasn't his best called game. I think back to when the Lions were down 10, and he ran a wide receiver pass play with Jamison Williams, who promptly threw an interception. You had a ton of success running the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he was gashing the Commanders like 8 yards a carry. Arguably 8 yards every time they handed him the ball. They were running the ball well. If they would have kept going, they could have maybe gotten a touchdown, couple lead to 3. Instead, after that, the game got out of hand. There were too many turnovers after that, and the Commanders walked out with the victory.
Yeah, I agree. His last game with Detroit as offense coordinator, I mean, they put up 31 points. So I can't really knock him for that. Yeah. But there are some calls that you can question. There was a 3rd and 1. I think it was like a toss sweep or something like that. Some play or shotgun. I think made Goff throw the ball, was incomplete. So there are a couple plays you can question here. You can always go back and take a look at some plays and question. But to me, I look at the body of work, right? And this is something that a lot of people say with the hiring of Ben Johnson. Oh, you guys are getting, it's the same thing as a Matt Nagy. It's the same thing as some of the other coaches you have. No, it's not. Matt Nagy called plays for, I believe, 6 or 7 games, and then Andy Reid took back the play calling because Nagy was horrible, and then the Bears went and hired him. Another Trace Armstrong client, by the way, Matt Nagy. Yep. So, that's the thing, is like, this guy's done it for 3 or 4 years now. We've seen the way he develops and the way he works, and the one thing I'm excited about now, first and foremost, you got to build the offensive line, because what I'm going to say now is not going to make a damn of a difference if that offensive line sucks, right? So that's where I think here, if we get a Hank Fraley, if we can bring him in from Detroit, make him his offensive line /OC, now you can build an offensive line that can go ahead and work with and protect Caleb Williams. But what I'm excited about is now Caleb's going to be under center for predominant the number of times. You're going to have play action. We're going to have play action where he's going to rely on the running game, right? DeAndre Swift, he's another guy that could be a guy that's going to be bye-bye off this roster. We talked about earlier, too, I think you hadn't jumped on yet. Tremaine Edmonds is a guy I think is going to be gone from this defense if they bring in a Dennis Allen. And I think DeAndre Swift is going to be a guy that might be gone from this roster in terms of the running back. So it's a heavy load in terms of the running back class in the draft. Now, maybe you can, for cap reasons, you can keep it DeAndre Swift and utilize some as a skill set because he's a talented kid, but he's a guy that hates running in between the tackles. Now, if you go get a running back that can go in between the tackles, that can offset that and eventually move on from DeAndre Swift after that. But what I'm getting to is there's going to be a commitment to the running game. There's going to be a commitment to the running game. There is going to be Caleb Williams under center, and Caleb's going to have a plan going into every single game. This is what my expectations are. He's going to have a plan every single game in terms of how you attack that coverage, that blitz, or if this guy comes free. So to have a plan, to be under center, to emphasize the running game, and use play action. Play action is a big friend for a quarterback because we've gone through over multiple times on B55 where I've showed even just the threat of handing the ball off to a running back will freeze those second level defenders for even a split second. That gives the tight end or the receiver running that mesh route behind or a crossing route behind the linebacker some time to get open. Now Caleb's got a clear vision in terms of where to get the football off to. So, that's where I am looking forward to the development of Williams is working in that pocket under center, and hopefully, like I said, with a solid foundation in front of him in terms of the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's getting good coaches. Like when the ball's out here, the ball's got to come out here. Here's it's open here. You get that kind of thing. And DJ Moore's going to, a similar player to Amon-Ra St. Brown, similar speed, stature, size, whatever you want to say. He'll fit in nicely in that, what Ben Johnson was doing in Detroit with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Ben did work with DeAndre Swift in Detroit last year or the year before? 2 years ago. So I think DeAndre Swift might stick around. He's probably our best running back. I mean, Roschon Johnson to me is the guy that might be out with the concussion. I mean, you want to have that like thunder and lightning like they have going on, whatever the Sonic and Knuckles they have going on. And this draft is deep with running backs, man. I'm looking at there's some thunder in this draft. Look at a guy like Amarian Hampton from North Carolina, Ollie Gordon, this great receiver out of the backfield, got some size, some wiggle. There's enough. I know you hate to draft a running back, but these are guys you could get arguably.
Well, I hate drafting in the first round. That's why I don't like everybody comes to me with.
Right, I would say Ashton Jonty. It's not.
I love the kid. Jonty is a great running back, but I'm not drafting him, especially with this team.
It's so deep.
Yeah,
it's so deep at running back.
Yeah, I mean, I got to build the offensive line first. So that's why they're if you want, but the thing with DeAndre Swift, going back to him, they got rid of him in Detroit because he's a guy that, again, same thing we saw here. He's a guy that bounces everything to the outside. He likes bouncing everything to the outside. running in between tackles is
you must be right. Yeah.
And Jamar Gibbs, you saw, he's a guy, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe definitely more electric than DeAndre Swift, but he's a guy that doesn't mind going in between tackles.
He runs between the tackles.
Right. So I think it's there's not Jamar Gibbs. I don't think Genty is not in Jamar Gibbs kind of category in terms of our running back, but so that's why I'm saying there isn't a guy in the first round that you go and pluck. But if you're going to bring in a veteran, you're bringing a draft pick and kind of utilize that. But what he likes is he likes to have someone that can be able to run in between tackles, someone that gives you some of that home run hitting ability. So the other thing they're going to have to do offensively is I think that to get another complement in terms of a pass catching tight end to Cole Kmet, and this is a huge, deep draft for tight ends as well. So I think you get someone like that. And also, you need a guy that's going to be able to stretch the defense. You need a speed guy, right? I like Roma Dunze in terms of size and the guy who can get open. He's runs clean routes, but in terms of the burner type, he's not that guy. So I think whether it's
I wanted Brian Thomas Jr. I'm on record here.
I'm okay with the Roma Dunze.
Yeah,
he's going to be a great player. I'm just saying you got to complement Dunze and. You cannot bring back. You can't bring back Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, he's gone. See ya. You got to get a guy here that's if it's a shorter guy, whatever it is, it got to give you some speed to be able to threaten that seam and go deep. Because remember, this Bears offense, it was all horizontal in terms of the passing game. There was no vertical, downfield threat. And with at least with Ben Johnson, you're going to see, again, emphasis on the running game, emphasis on play action, and then take your shots deep with some of those guys. So I think Rome is going to eat in this offense. I think DJ Moore, you mentioned it, in terms of that Amon St. Brown kind of role, he's going to eat in this offense. I think Cole Kmet will finally seek a little bit more action there for Cole Kmet as well. So you got to add, some other, pieces around him. A big guy on the outside.
Draft for wide receivers either, though. This one, I mean, there's some. If you're looking at guys to take the top off the defense, I mean, a guy like Isaiah Bond from Texas is a guy that.
There's always guys. You're always going to find guys in the second day of the draft that come in here and perform high. So I haven't gotten deep into the receiving core yet. I've been struggling. I've been just trying to kind of focusing on an offensive defensive lineman right now. But I mean, there's guys in terms of receivers, like guys like in the second round. You're talking about Savion Williams from TCU. You're talking about Bond. You mentioned. I like Matthew Golden a lot. The short guy from Texas. I think he's a tough little receiver.
Texas had some good receivers.
Yeah. But I think there's some players you can get in the second, third round. But I think
the greatest draft for offensive linemen, though.
It's not really a great draft.
It's just bad luck for the Bears.
That's what with the Tez Johnson, Oregon guys is a good one. Thanks to A2K. So there are some guys here you could go ahead and find in the second or third day of the draft. So that again, just a guy that can give you that vertical threat that will threaten defenses. You got to add that to this offense, and then. Obviously, and going back to your point there, Tooch, there is no guy that I would take right now with the 10th pick in overall in terms of offensive line. If I'm staying at 10 right now, I'm focusing on edge guys and defensive linemen right now at number 10. Yep. If you want to trade down and get into the early teens or mid-teens, now we're talking about guys possibly like Campbell from LSU, which
Banks from Texas,
and Banks from Texas. I got some questions about him there as well, but
he got better throughout the year, though. I mean, that's what you're looking for, that progression.
He got better, but I have a hard time seeing him stick at left tackle. Now, if you want to flip him to the right side, you want to kick him inside, we can talk about Kevin Banks Jr. But again, number 10 for me, it's just right now it's too rich. We'll see what happens. I mean, a lot of guys will come out of the woodwork here and will perform, but I really think. In terms of tackle, I think they're going to be okay with, and this is just a guess. I think they're going to be okay with the current tackles right now for at least another year. I think what they're going to concentrate on is getting that.
What about signing a free agent for left tackle with experience?
Well, I mean, they're really free agent left tackles. The good ones they don't hit the market, right? The guy that might hit the market is Ronnie Stanley, but he's a guy that's
31 years old. Yep.
Yeah, injured a lot, and you don't want put big money to that guy. So I think for the what you got right now, we'll see what this. I think what they're gonna do, they're gonna attack the inside, guard the guard, get a center, get two guards, and kind of fortify the inside of that offensive line, and then we'll see what happens at tackle. You have that current Armagaji at left tackle possibly to compete with our Braxton Jones. Obviously, you got Darnell Wright at right tackle. If you want to keep Darnell Wright inside the right guard and bring in a right tackle,
Braxton Jones and Karen Armagaji, no. Look, what about
let me interrupt
Smith, Kansas
let me
City
interrupt a quick second. Let me interrupt a quick second because Lennox asked a question and he donated $5 to the barroom. Should we seek a center from the draft or free agency? Now, free agency, there aren't a lot of great centers, but probably the top guy is a guy out of Atlanta, Dahlman.
I think Dahlman
he could be the guy to invest some dollars in. How important is it to have a veteran center for Caleb in his second year and his first year under Johnson? Do you think you could risk bringing in a rookie center to work with Caleb, or would you rather have a free agent?
I think you go where we talked about Dahlman, right? He's going to be
the only 26 guy.
If you can get him a veteran center, bring him in. I think that'd be great, and then you can attack the draft, the guards with the draft, right? Because I think everyone now has Trey Smith earmarked to the Bears, right? The Kansas City right guard, Pro Bowl right guard. We'll see if he hits free agency, if they tag him or whatnot. But again, he's going to be asking for a lot of money, and I have no problem paying Trey Smith a lot of money. But the thing is, like, we have three positions inside we got to attack, right? Assuming Tevin Jenkins is gone, assuming you need a center and a guard. If you can go ahead and get a veteran center like a Dahlman who comes in, who's going to be able to kind of man that position for the next couple of years. Now, I haven't broken down his tape yet, so I don't know what the size is. The one thing we're going to do with this offensive line, in my opinion, it's going to get a little bit more bigger and a little more stout at the point of attack with Ben Johnson coming in, especially if they're bringing Hank Fraley. So I think the days of the the faster, athletic, wide zone guys. I think we're not going to see those guys emphasize as much as we're going to see guys more so running inside zone, running some power tray, some counter, some more gap scheme, power scheme stuff that he does. He will run some wide zones here and there, but that's not the forte that they do there at Detroit. I think he likes more of that inside zone, a lot of the power stuff, traps, pulling guards, pulling centers. So we'll get into the veteran free agency a little bit on, but Dahlman, from what I've heard, he's the top available veteran center. That's where I would attack for. Although I think you make a great point. You want to bring a guy in that's a veteran, that's been around the league, that knows how to kind of identify defenses, help your young quarterback if he has an issue in terms of pointing out the blitzer and calling out the protection, so on and so forth. And then you can always plug and play with the draft picks at guard. So we'll see how that works out.
Chubbs donates $5 and says, for the love of God, we shouldn't draft anybody who doesn't sit on the line of scrimmage on defense or offense. So, Tuch, I will ask you, if all of a sudden Ashton Genty falls to number 10, would you consider picking him up and then dedicating resources, free agency, obviously before the draft, and second-round picks to the offensive and defensive line?
I wouldn't. I mean, I would have considered accepting a trade if someone wanted to trade up and grab him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Danny said, I don't think there's any offensive linemen at 10. Is that what the Bears are picking, 10 or 9?
10.
At 10.
Yeah.
At 10, that is worth a pick of 10. So, you get back into like 16 to 20, you're talking about guys like Will Campbell, Calvin Banks. Josh Simmons, I'd like to see how he comes back from injury, because arguably he might, if he wasn't injured, he might be the top tackle in this draft.
Donovan Jackson is not a bad kid to play there as well. I love Donovan Jackson coming to Ohio State. He's a guy that played left guard too. Left tackle when Simmons got hurt. Yep. He had a hell of a CFP final there as well. So Donovan Jackson intrigues me a lot, guys, in terms of possibly as a guard who maybe even play left tackle. I mean, that's how much I like that kid a lot.
Yeah, and defensive tackles, there's some big fellas up at the top there. You're talking like, we probably aren't picking high enough to get Mason Graham, but there's the kid from Kentucky. There's another big kid from Michigan. I can't remember.
Well, Kenneth Grant is a guy from Michigan who's a big space eater. He's a developing guy. He's a guy that I don't see top 10, but again, maybe later first round, early second round. But yeah, I agree. Whoever had that comment, you're going to have 3 picks in the top 41, I believe it is. 4 in the top 75, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
those three of those picks got to be offensive, defensive linemen. If you want to put in a tight end there, if you want to put in a receiver that stretches the field, I'm okay with that as well. Maybe even a running back in the 3rd round. We'll see how things play out. But those 3 picks, they got to be offensive, defensive line. That's why right now, if you stay at 10, my top rated guys are going to be on the defensive line, whether it's an edge rusher opposite of Montez Sweat or an interior defensive lineman. I don't see an offensive lineman going at number 10 if you stay there.
Yeah, me too. Edge rusher at 10, seems to be. I don't think we have enough juice to get Abdul Carter, but there's some
that'd be a great pick. Abdul Carter, I think, especially bringing in Dennis Allen, his upfield attacking defense. I think he'll be a great fit in this scheme as well. But there's a guy that I'm in love with, but I don't know how he fits. Scheme wise, is Jalen Walker from Georgia. He's 6'2", undersized, but man, that guy's got sideline playmaking ability. He's a bit of a tweener. I think he's going to get hurt in terms of where he's going to go at the next level. Some teams love him as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Something he might be an inside linebacker that can kick out to be an edge rusher on 3rd downs and passing situations. So we'll see how that goes. That guy can get after the ball. That is a dude. Jalen Walker from Georgia. If you guys put his tape on number 11, that guy is all over the football field. So there's James Pierce from Tennessee, Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. There's a couple other guys that I'm missing here real quick. I got my edge rushers here, Blue Collar, Jalen Walker. Oh, we got Michael Williams, who is more of a 4-3 defensive end from Georgia as well. I mean, there are guys on a defensive line and offense and defense tackle and defensive edge guys that I think could fit if you stay at number 10.
J2K has a question for you, Danny. He says, what's the best fit, right tackle as a swing tackle or left guard, Josh Connerly Jr. of Oregon, and right tackle or right guard as a right guard, Armand Membo from Missouri?
I think Membo, I would like him at right tackle initially, but he might be a guard originally, and over after a couple years you might kick him inside. But I think I like Membo at Missouri at right tackle. Again, I've talked about this before, guys. Kick Darnell right inside to right guard and bring in a guy like Membo or maybe a Connerly or something like that. And then now you got yourself a right tackle opposite of whether it's Braxton Jones, whether it's Armagaji, or whether you're bringing on someone else to compete there at left guard or left tackle. But my main thing is focus on the inside. And I think that's what hopefully they will do is between the guard and guard, solidify those three guys in front. And then we can worry about the tackles, because I think you could get by if you solidify the interior of the offensive line. You could get by with Wright and Braxton Jones, assuming they both stay healthy at tackle for at least another season.
D. Starren says, do we really have no offensive line, or was the offensive line just badly coached? I think one of the intriguing things about what is going to happen with the next head coach for the Chicago Bears, he's going to make sure there is synergy, for lack of a better word, between the offensive line coaches and all the other coaches. I believe because Morgan was here before, and you bring in Eberflus, and then you add in a passing coordinator, and then you fire Eberflus. That whole relationship stuff was screwed up. And I've heard stories before that sometimes assistant coaches don't talk to one another. And it almost feels like that was an issue over at Halas Hall, that the people were not getting along because they have differing opinions, because there were forced marriages. Nothing happened organically the way it should. Now we've got a great opportunity for Ben Johnson to bring in his own offensive coordinator, who could be the offensive line coach from the Lions. And how beautiful would that be to have an offensive coordinator who knows what offensive linemen should be doing on every doggone play? So I'm excited about that. But what do you guys think? Do you think that the O-line was that bad? I know that Caleb Williams deserves a lot of blame for some of those sacks.
Yeah, the number of sacks, what was the final? 60-some?
58.
68 sacks. I mean,
oh my God.
68. So, I mean, some were on Caleb, no doubt. And although you and I have gone over tape showing that, and then I think a majority of them were on the offensive line. Now, could it be some of it be coaching? Yeah, I agree with you. Although, I mean, Chris Morgan was a guy that was held over from the original staff that Eberflus brought in, and they just felt like this guy was some sort of great offensive line coach. And all we saw was offensive linemen confused, blocking each other sometimes, sitting on their asses while Caleb was getting pummeled by defensive linemen. So, yeah, I agree. I think if Ben Johnson, I mentioned a couple times already, if they can bring in Hank Fraley from Detroit, make him his offensive coordinator / offensive line coach, I think that's a great start. Now you can go ahead and you can identify the type of offensive lineman you want for your scheme, for your system, and then you go ahead and draft them, bring them in, free agents, whatever, and then just fortify that offensive line, especially in front of Caleb, because we've seen Caleb, guys. He's a guy that doesn't want to throw the football. He doesn't want to give up on a play. That's something you have to kind of coach out of him a little bit here in the coming years. But if you give him that pocket, he's got the ability to step up in the pocket and continue to be able to scan down the football field and find guys. So that's why I say if you can fortify the inside, the tackles, you can live with the tackles for another year, because he's got that keen ability to be able to step inside or climb the ladder and get rid of the football, not just
That's a great point.
Yep. Yeah, and D. Stanton says I saw a lot of missed assignments in the offensive line, and there clearly was
Larry Borum.
Larry,
how many times did Larry Borum just not block anybody?
Yeah, but a part of it too was
Would
all
Danny resign Larry Borum
as a backup, maybe, but not as a starter. I wouldn't bring him as a starter.
Do you really want Larry Borum as your swing tackle? Do you, Danny?
No. No, I mean maybe inside a guard. I mean, it depends on what you. I mean, it depends on what you. I mean, if you could do worse, I think than Larry, you could have Nate Davis back if you're going to do worse than Larry Borum. But I'm just saying, like, I prefer to clean house, like I said, and bring a whole new. But I know reality is it's going to be hard to clean house. You can't just pluck in 3 offensive linemen from the draft and say, all right, go guys, start, because they're going to have rookie ups and downs. You got to go and attack it via veteran free agency. Tackle via the draft, and then you got to develop some guys, right? So, Kevin Seitzer is a guy that was with the Ravens, signed with the Lions this year as a right guard. He was injured this last game, didn't play. He's a guy that's a free agent, I believe. He's a guy you could probably bring in there. Right guard will be much cheaper than Trey Smith. Might be a short-term fix, but maybe you draft a guy in the 4th, 5th round. They can kind of groom behind Kevin Seitzer. So guys like that, veterans that have been around, they can kind of patchwork this thing and get it together and give Caleb a shot there to go back there and read the defenses and make plays. So, I'm not saying go break the bank on these guys. It'd be great if you get a Trey Smith. That'll solidify that right guard position forever. But we also get a Dahlman at center, solidify that there as well. You have to be more realistic in terms of how you're going to build this offensive line. You're going to put resources into it, but you also have other places you have to kind of put some of the resources. But first and foremost, I'm saying fix that offensive line, veteran free agents, draft picks, whatever you got to do, fortify the inside, and then we can start filling in holes the rest of the roster.
Stephen Degishi says, spend $40 million total on Trey Smith and Drew Dahlman on day one of free agency, and then you bolster that way you bolster 2 interior spots immediately. And thank you, Stephen, very much for the $5 donation. If any of you guys, you should be following Stephen Degishi on X and on his YouTube channel. He's got fabulous guests. He's yet to have Tooch and Danny on, but he's had me on a couple of times. Anyways, thank you, Stephen. Really appreciate it. What about this upcoming draft? If you had to pick a couple of guys from the defense, it's got to be Mason Graham and the kid from Penn State, right? Abdul Carter. Those are the 2 guys you would pick at number 10 if they fell down, which is unlikely either one of them will, right?
Right. Right now, yeah, both those guys have first-round picks from me now going into the process. Jalen Walker is a guy that I like a lot, but at 10 might be a little bit too high, especially depending on the fit there. Michael Williams is a guy from Georgia that really intrigues me, but his game is a little hot and cold. So, those Georgia guys, it takes maybe a year or 2 for those guys to kind of get acclimated to the NFL and get going. But these guys got a ton of talent, length. He's a base defensive end. In terms of, Mason Graham, we talked about him. Kenneth Grant, I like a lot, but he's more of a bigger body, raw kind of prospect. At 10 would be too high for him. But yeah, if you're going to stick at 10, James Pierce is a guy, edge rusher from Tennessee, Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, Nick Scorton, Michael Williams. These are the guys you got to look at here.
Like Jack Sawyer saw him last night.
Yeah, no, not a 10. I mean, Jack Sawyer.
I mean,
try hard guy.
Yeah,
second, third round or something like that. But he's a guy, try hard defensive end. We'll get
high
after
motor,
high motor, high energy. One of those character guys that you will have to have in a football team. But yeah, talk about 10. You're talking about guys with traits, and right now, like I would love Abdul Carter or Mason Graham that come down to the Bears at number 10. Both would fill a need immediately. Both would kind of plug in right there and start right away. If not, I can James Pierce, Nick Scorn, Michael Williams. We'll look at there.
Yep. You mentioned Kyle Kennard a little while ago, Danny. Do you want to expound on the defensive end from South Carolina?
Yeah, Kennard's a guy with length. Really had a great season at South Carolina. He's a guy that right now is not projected to go high in that first round area, but he's a guy maybe mid to late first round. We'll see how it goes, but everything with him depends on how he tests, how he times out. So we'll see. He had a terrific season this year at South Carolina.
Very good, Danny. Tooch and I usually dedicate the last 15 minutes to the show, and I want to get out of here at 10 o'clock. So we dedicate it to movies or TV shows that we've seen. Have you seen anything, Danny, that you'd like to share with the audience that you like? The movie with you and your girlfriend. What are you guys watching? Is she watching tape with you?
No, she's not. No, we haven't. I haven't had a chance to watch any movies. I haven't even actually had a chance to watch any of my shows. I'm just kind of get caught up the holidays and the kids and all that stuff. So just kind of getting in the groove here now. I got the Senior Bowl list got a released in terms of people going to the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl acceptance are released. So I've been just kind of starting off and digging into table. I was telling Tuch earlier, I'm kind of looking at offensive and defensive lines right now because I think that's where they're going to be focused of the Bears here early on in the draft process, and then from there kind of expand out to the other positions. But no, it's draft season for me, guys, and that's got my top priority here.
I don't blame you, brother. There's a lot of tape to go through. So I'm going to let you go early, Danny, and then Tuch and I will finish things up here. Really appreciate it. And Danny, we'll see you tomorrow on Phone 55, right?
Or tomorrow after the press conference. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I do you have what are your expectations for Ben Johnson tomorrow at the press conference?
No acronyms. Please, no acronyms, no principles, no, like that. I don't want to hear all that kind of crap. Just be normal. We know he's a football nerd, and just come across, like today's video that they released today with his family and the way he talked to the staffers there. I mean, that's nice. That was good. The locker room is the most important thing here. We have to do everything in this building to make sure the locker stuff. So I think that's a positive first step. So we see how I text him out. Don't look nervous. Don't look like you big bright lights, big city kind of catch you off guard there. So that's what I'm looking for. And just come across as a natural a person that he is. Like Ryan Poles is still nervous up front of the camera. So that really does. About 3-4 years in, he's still nervous. That really bothers me. So
it bothers me too.
For a guy that's in front of the cameras all the time, you think that he just can't have that, get comfortable a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, just be normal, no acronyms, and just talk ball.
All right, brother. We'll see you tomorrow. All right.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Later, Danny.
Goodbye.
He is Danny Shimon, and you'll find him tomorrow on Phone 55 at 8 p.m. Central, live here on the Barroom Network. Lennox Holmes says, how did the Lions build their offensive line via draft and free agency? And thanks again for another tip, Lennox. Very generous.
I can answer this question. They built their line. They built their line through the draft and through free agency.
That's right, and I think
that's how they did it.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But 4 of the starters were draft picks.
I hope we follow their blueprint, Lennox.
Yeah, and so the left tackle, I want to say he was drafted about 8 years ago, and so
Penei Sewell.
No, he's the right tackle.
Okay.
Yeah, they moved him to right tackle early on in his career, and so it took a while, which is why I get frustrated with Poles, because if you're going to take exactly the approach the Lions did, then it's an 8-year process, because that's when they started. But they dedicated high draft picks and spent some money. One of the free agents they signed was somebody they drafted, let go away, and then when he hit free agency, they brought him back. So I could see that
you
happening.
Bring back James Daniels.
Oh, I'd be for that. I mean, I haven't seen him play a lot with the Steelers, but the word is he's been playing pretty well.
Yeah, Damon Dice has it there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Damon. It's Taylor Decker, the left tackle they drafted some 6, 7, 8 years ago. So,
if the Bears want to fix the offensive line quickly, they have no choice but to go through free agency.
I totally agree.
Stephen Nagishi said, you got to sign Trey Smith, you got to sign Drew Dahlman. Just go in,
right?
Sign guard, center, boom.
I think I saw. I think it was J2K earlier in the show said something about Poles lost out on McGlinchey, and I think those were his words. But he didn't really lose out. This, according to Greg Gabriel, who had a talk with Ryan Poles at the Senior Bowl, he just didn't want to pay that amount for that particular player. He just thought that was out of the allocated money they thought that player should get. Now, can we have the argument that he still should have paid for that because it's such an important position, and then Darnell Wright could be moved to guard, or Darnell Wright could be moved to guard or something like that? Yeah, that's a fair argument. I think you have to bend the best player available rule and the tough dollars. You have to bend those a little bit, because now you got your quarterback under his rookie contract, and you can then do the things that you need to do in order to build a winner. J2K says, yes, Aldo, but he handcuffed himself in need in the draft, not BPA. Oh, yeah, maybe. I mean, I think that's arguable, but we'll save that argument for the other day.
Yes. You
Dude,
can make the
what have you
argument.
seen? I've been dying to find out.
I finished Silo season 2 or 3?
You probably
Season
watched
2?
season 1 because that was
What
8, 9,
was
10.
season 2? What was the season right now that just ended?
Season 2.
Season 2. So I finished season 2. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was great, man. The ending was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm several episodes behind. Do you like it as much or better as season 1?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I think it might be better than season 1.
I saw someone left a comment about Silo here, and I think it was a favorable one. I'm scrolling up to see if I can find it. I'll be honest with you. J2K says Silo 2 was great.
Yeah, it was.
So I'll get back into it with my wife, but she and I saw the first 2 episodes of season 2, and we weren't too thrilled by it, but we'll go back to it and check it out for sure. I rewatched Severance season 1 to get ready for Severance.
My brother said season 2 is excellent.
Yeah, I saw the first episode. It was excellent of season 2. So
yeah, I have to watch it. I have yet to. But he keeps telling me I got to watch it, and I just haven't had time. I watched a shit ton of football over the weekend. You know, I was watching 4 games. You know, I was just like, I was a little under the weather, and I was just like, my wife just let me sit in front of the TV and watch.
She's a good woman. Yep. But yeah, Severance. Season 2 is very good, and I think J2K might be referring to Severance when he writes it starts slow, but it does. But the back half is exciting. So maybe he's talking about
Silo season 2. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say the first episode of season 2 in Severance was. Wait a minute. In fact, you know, when you first watch season 1, I've seen it now twice. When you first watch Severance season 1, have a little patience with it the first episode or 2, because it takes a little while to figure out what the fuck is going on here. These people, their minds are being erased.
Their brains are severed to home and work. You know.
Yeah, and so the exposition for me was a little rocky, but it really pays off. It's really well done.
I watched that American Primeval, but we talked about that.
And I have not with Taylor Kish.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Yep, really enjoyed it. I like westerns though, so. You know.
I mentioned it to my wife, and I told her Taylor Kish was on, and she goes, "Okay, I want to see it."
Yeah,
he's still the heartthrob, I guess.
Yep.
What about Landman? Have you seen that?
I watched episode 1, really enjoyed it, but I haven't been able to get back to it. My son, he loves it. He thought it was hilarious. You know, good show. So I got to get back to that. I love Billy Bob Thornton, man.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
He's excellent. Yeah.
Yep, he really is outstanding. Everything he does is good for me. I loved him in that season of Fargo. I know Dan Aguirre hated it, and I'm like, yeah, how could you hate anything Billy Bob Thornton is in?
Right.
Even his worst movies are good. You know, even if you don't like Bad Santa, it's a great movie.
If I ever met Billy Bob Thornton, I would tell him, can you please do a director's cut of All the Pretty Horses?
Oh,
because I mean, the studio cut like 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. He originally shot like it to be 3 or 4 hour long, you know, and it was cut to like 2.5 hours. You know, all the best, all the great, you know, scenes were cut. You know, he was like never went back to revisit it. He's like he was so pissed off.
Have you heard of 1923? It's into a season 2 now.
I have not heard of that.
I just saw a preview recently. It looks really cool. It's about the war in 1923, or there was a war or something back. So I think it's with Angelina Jolie, or she's behind it, or something like that. But it's worth watching. Did you ever see the movie 1919, which is all shot with like one camera move by, I'm forgetting the director. It was an Oscar winner maybe 3 years ago. Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
Is that like Dunkirk?
It's not Dunkirk, but it's called 1919, I believe. 1919 movie. It is. No, that's not the title. See, anybody in the chat know what I'm talking about? 1917.
1917.
I got my years.
You were only off by a couple of years. Yeah, 1917. I haven't watched this, but it's in my queue.
Oh,
Mm.
please try to watch it this week so we could
Oh, you know
talk
what?
about it next week.
I did see a movie recently. It was Liam Neeson. I know he's getting ready to retire from movies, right? And it's called In the Land of Saints and Sinners. It's got a great Irish cast, and it's like, Belfast, Northern Ireland, 1970s, the Troubles, the IRA, and revolutionaries and stuff. And he plays an old hitman. It's got Ciarán Hinds is in it. There's Colm Meaney, who was on Star Trek: The Next Generation. I forget.
Okay.
He's been in a ton of movies.
Yeah.
And it has the kid that played Joffrey. You won't even recognize him. Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
he plays like a young hitman that Liam Neeson works with.
Oh, love it.
And it's great. Like gangsters come to his small village that he's kind of semi-retired at. In Northern Ireland, which is where not far from where Liam Neeson himself grew up. He's from like Antrim County, Northern Ireland. Not far outside Belfast.
Okay.
And it was a decent movie, man. I really liked it. The acting was fantastic, man.
I'll have to check it out.
Those Irish actors were just chewing the scenery, man. It was great.
Love it.
Beautiful shots of the countryside of Northern Ireland too.
Hey, back to that movie 1917 that I mentioned. It's directed by Sam Mendes, and the beauty.
I love him.
Yeah, he's a fabulous director, and the beauty of it is that
American Beauty.
It appears the movie is shot all in one take. So for 2 hours, the camera is constantly moving. Now, there are like about 5 or 6 digital edits, but for the most part, every scene is like at least 20 minutes long without there being any edit. And the camera,
good cast too.
Oh, yeah, it's got a dynamite cast, dynamite storyline, and it's just one of those films that visually is spectacular. So check that out if you can, so we can talk about it. Jay Rock says Bates Motel still is one of his favorite series. Did you ever see the Bates Motel thing? I saw, I think most of season 1.
I like that Psycho stuff, though.
Oh, love it. Love it. J2K says he watched 1917 while having sex, and I didn't know it was.
Hopefully the sex was continuous.
Yes. Hopefully you didn't have to stop to wash up or something.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
All right, Tooch, how'd you do this past week at Weekend Sports Betting Tips?
Last night I had a great night with the college football championship. So
excellent.
I worked on the ESPN college football championship magazine, and we only did Ohio State. There was no Notre Dame magazine. So I'm like, fucking ESPN knows Ohio State's going to win. I'm going to bet Ohio State. So I bet Ohio State. Then I bet Riley Leonard anytime touchdown and Jeremiah Smith anytime touchdown. All 3 bets hit.
So you're saying they didn't even do a mock-up of Notre Dame?
Nope. They thought the Irish had no chance. So I immediately was like, you know what? I'll put my money on.
Do you think there's something suspicious? Yeah, you're not.
I know.
No, let's talk about something else.
The game's over, though. The game's over, though. So.
But you think there's something suspicious that they knew something? You know how it works, right?
Yeah. Yep.
There's conspiracy theories everywhere.
I'll let you know when we get to the Super Bowl. Maybe we only do one magazine for the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
But speaking of, who do you think we got 2 great games this weekend, man?
Yes, we do.
Rematch between the Commanders and the Eagles. I'm still trying to pinch myself that the Commanders are in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
And then you got the Chiefs and the Bills, man. Mahomes versus Josh Allen, man, that's gonna be great.
That's the out of both of those games, I definitely want to see that one. I'll see both of them, of course. But the Eagles, I'm worried because Jalen Hurts has left knee, so he's not been passing well to begin with.
If Jaden Daniels goes to the Super Bowl as a rookie, we'll never hear the end of the Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. I kind of touched on it in Bears State of Affairs, but I mean,
Yeah, but you're right, and rightfully so. I mean,
the Bears had chances to get all 3 of the main components of that Commanders team: Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, and Jaden Daniels.
Yep, exactly.
You know,
and they
failed.
failed.
They didn't, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. I love Caleb Williams. With Ben Johnson, we do have hope. You know, so
the fact that Ben Johnson took the job because of Caleb Williams is really inspiring for me as a Bears fan. He wanted to go to the place that had the best quarterback, and he chose the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. No regrets.
You know that meme, right? The bad tattoo. No regrets.
Love it. So who do you got in that game, the NFC game?
Well, the NFC one I think is a little more difficult to. I mean, they're both difficult to handicap. I think if the Bills are getting points, I'd have to seriously consider Josh Allen. He just refuses to lose.
He's a monster.
And I don't think the Chiefs' running game is all that good. I mean, Kareem Hunt has been a good for them. You know, if they decide to go. And I love Isaiah Pacheco, but he just hasn't been good since he came back from injury.
Yeah, he's not 100%.
Kareem Hunt has ran really hard, and then the Bills. You know, Josh Allen on third down is a threat to run 10 yards. You know, and keep the chains moving and stuff, but. Man, I mean, the Commanders they didn't punt. There was a point in the season where the Commanders did not punt for like 4 games. The punter, he could have stayed at home, you know, and not made the trip for like 4. They didn't punt, you know.
So
I mean, it's like you talk about the Lions scoring 33.2 points. The Commanders are right behind them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're right behind them. You know, in fact, in the playoffs, the Commanders have averaged 34.1 points per game. It's crazy.
Wow.
You know, they are putting up some points. So, I mean, the Eagles have a great defense that hopefully, I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, hopefully that'll keep the Eagles in the game. But, man, if Jalen Hurts can't go, they're kind of in trouble, man. I don't know. I forget who was it. Tanner McKee is the other. Kenny Pickett. I mean,
somebody like that.
I think Tanner McKee is a little bit better player than Kenny Pickett.
But it's, you know, you're going to have to give Saquon Barkley the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to get 40 touches.
I'm going to be looking for that rush attempts prop for Saquon Barkley. If it's like it'll probably be something like 20.5 or 22.5, something like that, maybe higher, maybe 24.5 rushing attempts, you know, and then play the over on that. But
yeah, Ron Torbert is the umpire. Is he the umpire or the referee? Yeah, he's going to be the head ref at the Super Bowl.
Is he when he refs Chiefs game? Is Mahomes and the Chiefs like 6-0 or something?
I don't know. I wonder if that's why Cliff is asking the question. Yeah. I don't know of any controversy behind Ron Torbert.
The Chiefs they're going for 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're trying to three-peat, and I mean it's been a long time since a team three-peated. What was the last team? I don't even remember. Do you?
There's never been.
Nobody's won 3 in a row, right?
No, I think the Green Bay Packers did it before the Super Bowl, but no.
Wow.
Maybe the Bears even did it 3. No, I don't think so. 3 out of 4 years.
I don't know. Maybe the chat has it.
Yeah,
but nobody in the modern Super Bowl era, right?
No. I remember when the Steelers were going for 3 in a row twice. They had an opportunities and they failed both times.
Just the Bulls,
right? Yep.
The Bulls says that they could have if Jordan didn't retire for 2 years, they could have been 8-peat.
Yeah, could have. You're right. Yeah. Although I do think that the team was getting tired.
Yeah.
You know, so. I mean, that 6th championship, I didn't think they were going to make it because they were just running on fumes.
It's like a top musical band, like touring forever, just like I don't want to play our hits anymore. You know?
Exactly.
Like, you know,
fucking Dennis Rodman told Phil Jackson, I need a weekend off in Vegas. It's like, who does that?
The circus.
But actually, you know, now with load management and all that stuff, it's one of the reasons I don't watch the NBA anymore. You know, I'll tune in to watch a game on TV, and LeBron is sitting.
I think the last game that the Commanders beat the Eagles the last time they played, but I don't think Jalen Hurts played in that game. It was a 38-35 Commanders victory.
Because they played twice during the season.
I'm telling you, they played twice in the season. The last game was December 22nd, 35-33 win for Commanders. And November 14th in Philadelphia, it was a 26-18 Eagles win. So that they split home and home. But man, I could see the Commanders going to. I could see them going to the Super Bowl, pulling it out. Just Jaden Daniels.
I can too.
You know, he when they need a first down, he just gets to the sideline. You know, 8 yards. He's out 1 yard past the marker. You know.
Yeah.
And then Terry McLaurin making some big plays. You know.
Yeah, I got it. Does it bother you that Poles didn't at least, take Jaden Daniels out to dinner? This is common practice with the Bears. Pace didn't take Mahomes out.
People have been very upset that they didn't even talk to Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And I said before the draft that Jaden Daniels is a kid. He's like the first kid in the building, the last kid out. We're film junkie.
Yeah.
Film junkie. You and I talked about how slight he is a build. We thought maybe he would, he took a beating in college, man. There's you can go watch film of highlights where he's just getting planted. He's trying to run and some guy just stands him up and plants him.
That's why Caleb was the better choice because he's much more durable.
Very durable. I mean, for the Bears, he's solidified the quarterback position for us. He's proven to be very durable. And
MC Fax says Daniels has a better situation than Williams. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, better offensive line. Better coaches. He had better coaches. Kingsbury and Quinn, I would take over Eberflus and Waldron any day of the week. 7 days a week. Yep.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So Friday,
if Hurts is out, you got to seriously look at the Commanders plus the points.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk AFC too. So I totally agree.
Right now, it's Commanders plus 6.5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Commanders
plus 6.5. Buffalo plus 1.5. That's a thin line. You might as well just take the money line, Buffalo to win. But I mean, the Chiefs are awfully tough at home. Did they play this year? They didn't play this year, did they? Yeah, they played November 17th. Yeah, it was the only loss that the Chiefs had.
Oh, that's right.
I took the Bills in that one. I was like, excuse me. Mm-hmm. If the Chiefs were going to lose it all this year, this is the week they would lose.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Hey, you're sick. Go to bed. Take your NyQuil. Now take the NyQuil, not the DayQuil.
Yeah. Got a total. Yeah, I'm going to take the NyQuil now. It's 47.5 total for Bills Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Now, usually the Chiefs are an under team. It's 47.5 point total for Washington, Philadelphia. 47.5. That's like the most common, total. So Vegas is basically throw it out there and let's see what the bettors do. Whether they like the over, the under. I don't know what is taken. Total 53% are on the over for Buffalo, Kansas City, and 69% are on the over for Philadelphia and Washington. So,
yeah. Cliff Victoria says you're a trooper to come on with.
I mean, it's the Ben Johnson era beginning. Cliff, I had to come out and
can't miss show.
I had to come out and do Bear State of Affairs, Ben Johnson, in an inaugural episode.
It was a great one. I'll try to isolate it and post it on YouTube like I did last week.
Right.
Great job, Tooch, and thank you, Danny Shimon. Danny is back here in the bar room with John Buffon.
Go to upstairs. I think where's that thing? Where's the
Every
light
time
bulb?
I try to sign off.
Where's the light bulb?
What light bulb?
Dan's light bulb.
Oh yeah, I took it down.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say that barflies. I heard nutting is good for a cold.
Oh, okay. Should I make a new graphic saying
I'm gonna go upstairs.
John's nutting?
I'm gonna go upstairs. My wife's waiting.
Have a great time with the wife, and we'll see you on Friday, 6 p.m. Central. Weekend sports betting tips. Tucci, you're the best. Take care, everybody.
Love you, buddy. All right.
Bye-bye. Love you too.
And if the dam breaks open many years too soon, and if there is no room upon the hill, and if your head explodes with dark forebodings too, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon. Mm-hmm.